Hello and welcome to the Fantasy Sanctuary. It is week 17, and of course, I'm back to walk you through the best and most important picks for this week's Fantasy Game Day slate. I'm going to walk you through the all-important captain pick, but also some picks for each position, talking through the best value and the players that I'm entering in the majority of my lineups. If you haven't yet checked out Fantasy Game Day, it is a brand new DFS platform only for people within the UK. If you use our code TFS23, you get a second free entry. Once you've deposited, once you've entered that first lineup, you'll automatically get a second entry for free. Now, the best thing about Fantasy Game Day is the all-important captain pick, and I'm going to talk you through two of my favorites. Now, when you're talking captain, every time Christian McCaffrey's on the slate, he's got to be in the conversation. It's almost an automatic. We've seen it some weeks where he goes off, and if you've not got McCaffrey as your captain, there's not even any point in thinking about the top two spots, those cash pots, because you're never going to get a chance. So he's got the most incredible matchup this week. He's against Washington, who are 32nd in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the running back position. Yes, he's expensive at £8,600, but he gets it done, quite frankly. I think we're about where he's now at the point where you almost have to get him in your lineup with this matchup. And if you're putting him in the lineup, you've almost got to captain him because the projected points is absolutely out of this world. This is the first time in a while that I've projected him over 3 points per £1,000, which is about the point where you want to be kind of looking at those higher priced options. So an absolute dream matchup. You know that the 49ers just keep feeding him at the moment. They're not concerned about him wearing down for the playoffs, it would appear. And that volume of rushing and receiving, he's got to be a pick here. If you're looking to get different and not go down McCaffrey, you could go down someone like Kyren Williams, who has got a good matchup, is expensive. Probably not the same value as someone like McCaffrey in terms of points per £1,000, but a decent option. But the other guy I'm looking at is AJ Brown. He is super cheap at £6,000. A really interesting over-under at 48 against Arizona this week. He's been off the ball a few weeks. I do wonder if we start to see the Eagles concentrate more on this passing game, and AJ Brown could be a massive beneficiary at that. Averaging 2.8 fantasy points per touch and could easily blow up. At £6,000, you're looking for 18 points really to return on value. So a decent value and a decent potential pick this week. If you're looking at quarterback, I talked about AJ Brown as a captain. Pairing him with Jalen Hurts makes a lot of sense. It's a really nice over-under. Jalen Hurts has been a top 5 QB 9 times this week. We know he gets that rushing touchdown almost every week, it seems. Anytime the Eagles are in and around the goal line, we know that there's that tush-push and chance that he's going to put up points. If you're looking to pay down at the quarterback position, I'm very intrigued by Jarrett Stidham. He's had 2 starts in his career and he's averaged almost 20 points per game in those starts. Yes, it's not the greatest over-under, sub 40 at 39.5, but the Chargers allow the 25th most points in adjusted fantasy points allowed to the quarterback position. And given Brandon Staley's gone, and the Chargers could well be a team that kind of blow it up and are struggling to play this year. So I think there's some intriguing potential for Stidham, who could potentially carve out a future role. Over at the running back picks, it's 2 absolute smash values right now. Zamir White is a must start. If Josh Jacobs isn't a go, which considering he's listed as doubtful, I think we can almost certainly rule him out. Zamir White at £2,200, it's absolutely wild. Yes, if you look on the season, it's 3 points per game. Doesn't look particularly impressive, but 16 points per game the last 2 weeks. If you put up that sort of 15, 16 points, that's almost, 6-7 times his projection, what he's based on the price. So he's a must start in any format and the key enabler, because if you get him in a lineup, it allows you to absolutely load up on the studs. And then the other option, this is pending Isaiah Pacheco being out. Now, there is a chance that Pacheco could go. He obviously practiced at the back end of the week, so he could well be cleared before the game on Sunday. But again, £2,200. If Pacheco and McKinnon are out, Edwards-Helaire is going to be the only option in the backfield. And it's a decent over-under at 44.5, and I feel like you could almost go those two at the running back positions and then just load the rest of your roster with absolute superstars and build a fairly scary lineup this week. So love the value of these two at the running back position, and hard to get away from them if, as I said, those two starters are out again. At the wide receiver position, normally looking at sort of some basement options, don't really have them this week. So two mid-priced players that I really like. Chris Olave gets that dream matchup against Tampa Bay, who are 31st and adjusted points allowed to the wide receiver position. Solid over-under, averaging over 15 points per game. Someone that could easily return 3 times their price, but could also have that ceiling of sort of 4 or 5 times if he does catch a touchdown and kind of blow up. And then Rashee Rice, he's been over 25% target share in 5 straight weeks. He is turning into the player that I dreamed of when I hyped him up in the offseason. Got that decent, solid over-under. Really intrigued by the ability to maybe load up on this Chiefs-Bengals game. I know that the Chiefs have been poor for a few weeks, but I do kind of wonder if no offensive points in that game against the Raiders lights a fire under them and they come back and Mahomes goes absolutely nuclear. So I'm going to have at least one lineup that's maybe going to be Chiefs heavy. Maybe I can go Mahomes, Edwards-Helaire, Rice, and someone like Kelsey at the tight end position and just pray that it's a blow up and you can look at a bring back. I mean, T. Higgins looks like a particularly interesting option if Jamar Chase is out. But yeah, really intrigued by Rashee Rice and think solid value at 5,400 that you should be able to get into pretty much any lineup. At the tight end position, you've got a cheap option and a mid-priced option. Gerald Everett, super cheap, averaging almost 8 points per game, but only £2,600, and then gets that amazing matchup against Denver. I talked about it on the Thursday preview show. They've just been letting up points for games against tight ends. They are 28th in adjusted fantasy points allowed, and I feel like Everett could potentially get a couple of decent looks. We know that Easton Stick has been checking it down and targeting Everett a high amount. No Keenan Allen, no Josh Palmer. Hopefully at that price, a touchdown, and he's already paid off the investment. And then the mid-priced option, Isaiah Likely, the guy's just getting it done. That's going to be a fantastic game to watch. Baltimore versus Miami, 47 over under. So we know that they're expecting points in this game. Isaiah Likely's averaging over 15 points per game in the last 3 weeks, yet he's still only priced at £3,400. So certainly another guy that I'm looking to get into my lineup as often as possible. If you haven't yet, go and get your entry in. Remember to use that code TFS23 if it is your first time entering. Let me know how you get on. Tom and I obviously won a few weeks. Hopefully one of you can bring home the big money this week. Best of luck. And of course, I'll be back next week previewing week 18.